Hello again, and welcome back to Ultimate Health Radio. I'm Dr. Brad Shapiro. Definitely excited for what I think at least is going to be another great show. So what we're going to talk about today, and this is something that's been on my heart for years at this point, and so I just figured instead of bouncing around, and I have a tendency to kind of bounce around when it comes to topics, I'm just going to go straight through some information that I put years into, just really considering, really thinking about. Just so you can kind of understand the background of this, there's some things I've noticed over the years that a lot of people, just for whatever reason, tend to struggle with. Not everybody has all these struggles. It's usually some sort of combination of different things. As you guys have heard in past shows, everybody's unique. So therefore, not everybody's going to have the same struggles. Everybody has different strengths. Everybody has different weaknesses. That's why it's a complete waste of time to fall into comparison, which is something we're all guilty of from time to time. We see what somebody else has, we see what somebody else is good at, and we think, oh man, I'm either better than they are or they're better than I am. And then the bad feelings come in, and then you start to go into a tailspin of feeling sorry for yourself or feeling envious or angry at that other person. And the reality is, if you can just come back to uniqueness, if you can just come back to fundamentals, you can bypass a lot of pain, heartache, any number of things. But I've got a list in front of me, and I like to call it tools of empowerment. You guys have heard me touch on some of this stuff in the past. You've heard me talk about how we really focus on two things at Ultimate Health and within our focus. Number one is uniqueness, which I've touched on. But number two is empowerment. Most people walk around feeling broken. They feel inadequate. They feel like they don't measure up. Even if you can't tell immediately, you get to know people long enough, myself included, and you're going to realize that on some level they feel broken. We all need words of encouragement. We all need a pep talk. We all need resources and help from our friends and family to kind of get us out of a tough spot or to help us along the way. And so that's what these tools of empowerment are really about. How can we empower people? Essentially, they're basically just a spin on fundamental success principles. Fundamental success principles are these things that pass over into every area of life. Whether you're a basketball player like Michael Jordan, or you're a top-level business person, or you're a top-level, really anything, athlete, business person, mom, dad. John Maxwell, one of the things he likes to say is if you have influence, you're a leader. Every single person has influence, therefore every single person is a leader. Therefore, every single person has a lot of common denominators. But this Tools of Empowerment, it's a list of 21 things. I've taught it to patients. I talk about it at staff meetings. I talk about it with my family, especially my son. A lot of times what I think about with my son is if I were to croak tomorrow, if I were to die tomorrow, what would be some of the things I would really, really want him to know? What are some of the things that I really think are just incredibly valuable for anybody to know and will give him a better chance at being successful in life? So I'm just going to go down this list. The next couple shows are going to be, I'm going to pick 2 or 3 of these, expand on them. Again, there's 21 in total, so I won't cover them all in any one show. But I want to go through these and just share them with you. If it makes sense, if it seems helpful, great. If not, no big deal. You won't hurt my feelings. But I do want to share this stuff in hopes that it will help to empower you and improve your life on some level. Because that's the heartbeat of this stuff. The heartbeat is to really empower and help people. I have zero desire to hold back, to hang on to any trade secrets, to just tell you some of the truth, but not the whole truth. I want to tell you everything I can think of that I think may be beneficial for you. And I've really found through experience and just seeing the light bulb go off with patients and with staff and with family and friends when I've shared some of these things that I've come to the point where I really think they can be beneficial. So the first one I'm going to talk about, and I'm just going to start talking from the top. I've talked about some of these in the past, but I just want to start from the very beginning. So the first is balance. Balance is a really big deal. This very much intertwines with uniqueness. There's a reason why balance is the very first one of these. Because if you're out of balance, a lot of other things you try to do aren't going to be near as effective. One of the things I used to demonstrate this to my son was I had him stand on one leg. And I said, Jackson, what happens if you bend too far forward? I'm going to lose my balance. What happens if you go too far backwards or too far to the left or too far to the right? I'll be out of balance, Dad. I'll lose my balance. And that's exactly right. And people do that a lot. It sounds silly. It sounds overly simplistic. But you have to, one of the things I try to encourage people when it comes to health, for instance, is there's some sort of balance between making good decisions, eating a clean diet, drinking plenty of water, getting good exercise, making sure you get plenty of good body work like chiropractic, any number of things. But there's some sort of balance between making good decisions, but also understanding that you're not a China doll. That was one of the things my dad used to love to tell me and tell my mom and other people when they would be overly concerned about whether or not I was going to be okay. Do I need nurturing? Do I need help? Absolutely, we all do. But I'm not a China doll, and neither are you guys. We were beautifully and wonderfully made. We're incredibly durable. It's amazing the amount of stress and the amount of challenges your body and your health can withstand. So you don't want to take that too far, because again, that can get out of balance. If you walk around like you're bulletproof, you're going to end up on the wrong side of things. But also, if you tiptoe through life and you're afraid of everything, that's not healthy either. So again, from a balance perspective, there's some sort of balance between taking the responsibility to make good decisions, but also not feeling like you need to walk around in a bubble and be afraid of everything. So balance is the first thing. Next thing is perseverance. Perseverance is a really, really big deal. I've got it on this sheet defined as steadfastness in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Perseverance is important. This is something that I recently talked about with Jackson, my son. And the analogy I used with him was, imagine Rocky in Rocky IV. Rocky goes up against this big Russian. This guy's a giant of a man. I can only imagine how hard he punches, how difficult of an opponent he would be. But imagine if Rocky got in the ring, the Russian punched him one time, and then Rocky says, "Whoa, hey, I've had enough of that. I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving the ring." That wouldn't exactly be a high level of perseverance, and it wouldn't be true to why we like those stories so much. From a biblical standpoint, imagine if David had walked up to Goliath, gotten scared, and said, "Whoa, I'm out of here." That just wouldn't have had the impact on our understanding of what it really means to have perseverance. And there's a lot of other angles or perspectives on what really happened with David and Goliath, but I just use that as an example to at least touch on the perseverance component. But that's a really important thing to understand. Life's going to knock you down. Life's going to punch you. It could come through negative words from somebody. It could come through disappointment. It could come through things not working out the way you had hoped they would. It can come through any number of things. But if you run every time that happens, every time you get punched, so to speak, if you run and you give up, it's going to be very difficult to get anywhere. There is a time to walk away. There is a time to say, you know what, enough is enough. Again, I'm circling back to balance by saying that. Do you want to have perseverance? Absolutely. But you want to balance that perseverance with an understanding that there is a time and a place to walk away. There is a time and a place to recognize that the risks versus rewards are not worth it. And you need to shift gears. You need to reevaluate versus just continuing to charge through. But without perseverance, it's pretty difficult to get somewhere. Last one I'm going to talk about is discipline. Discipline is a big deal. It's defined on this sheet at least as behavior and order maintained by training and control. So you have to do things intentional to discipline yourself. I don't think discipline for most people comes real naturally. It definitely doesn't for me. I'm a very fluid, fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. And so one of the things I've had to do to compensate for that is get around people that are very disciplined and implement into my life different things that encourage discipline. One of the things, and I think I've talked about this on past shows, but either way, I'll talk about it again. But there's a buddy of mine that we have a 5 to 10 minute phone call every single morning. We've got a list of questions that we ask each other. I created my own list. He created his own list. So therefore, we're both taking responsibility for our questions. He's not forcing anything on me. I'm not forcing anything on him. It's literally just a situation where, do you want to get together and help each other? These are the things that I think are going to have the most impact on my life. These are the things that I think will allow me to really fulfill the vision that God has for my life. So will you help me by asking me these things every morning? That way I've got some accountability and I can create higher degrees of discipline. So some of the ones on mine are, did I do something specific to make my wife and son feel loved and supported? Support for my wife especially, and my son too, is a big deal. They've got their own hopes and dreams. They've got the things that God's placed on their hearts. They've got the things that they really feel like are important and they need to charge through and work towards. I need to show them support. I'm a very passionate person, and I always appreciate it when people get behind me, and my wife and son are fantastic about that. But I also need to understand that they've got hopes and dreams. They've got things that have been placed on their hearts as well, and I need to return the favor. I need to support and love them the way they support and love me. And so that's something that some of those things, even though I feel like I'm pretty good at it, it's so important that I want it on my list because I don't want to take any chances of not following through with something that I feel is so important. Another thing, I'm in the process of learning guitar. I'm a terrible guitarist. As good as I am in so many other areas, it's pathetic if you hear me play guitar. So on my list, did I practice guitar for 15 minutes? It's tough for me to do something I don't enjoy doing, or I shouldn't say I don't enjoy doing something that I'm no good at. But I want to really learn guitar. I do jail ministry. That would be a huge tool. The guys are much more apt to come out of their cells if there's guitar music or if there's music of any kind. We have somebody that goes with us to do that, but because of her schedule, she can't always make it. It's completely understandable. But I would love to learn guitar. That way I can fill in that gap when it's needed. So I've got that. I've got, did I work out and worship every morning? That's another big thing. I've really found that combining worship with workouts has just been a really powerful thing to ignite my health, to ignite my relationship with God, to ignite just so much passion and just so much that's just bigger than myself. But combining those two is huge. There's a list of 10 questions. I can go on, but those are some of the ones that I'm asked every single morning. Again, I created my own list, therefore I've got to own them. But I found them to be incredibly beneficial. I found the more I can increase my discipline, it really helps me along the way. The Bible said God disciplines those he loves. So discipline is very important. It's not always fun. It's definitely painful at times. But man, oh man, is it beneficial and is it important? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out. I appreciate you guys listening. My goal is to do 2 podcasts a week, just kind of give you an expectation. But over these next several weeks, I'm going to cover 3 of these things at a time, 2 or 3 at a time, off this list of tools empowerment. So I'd encourage you to listen next time. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.